Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my October show and tell. Hello there. If you are new to my show and tells, these are kind of like my monthly favorites or my monthly roundup or whatever it is you want to call it, but is me talking about all the things that happened for me that I did, that I enjoyed, that I worked with in October. So I will be talking about all the decks I worked with in October as well as some books that I read. So if that is the stuff that is most interesting to you, you can skip all this other stuff if you want. But I'm going to be sitting and hanging out with you guys and talking to you about all the October things. And October is a fun month, so I probably have a lot to say. Let's get into it. I like to start with memories because this is a category that I'm likely to forget because there's no stuff associated with it, but it is something I really enjoy sharing. The biggest thing that kicked off in October is that Peggy has brought on a contract helper to help her sew, which is so exciting. Peggy's new helper's name is Rose, and I'm going to introduce you guys right now.
Hello, your queen now has a queen's guard.
Yay!
Hi, and chief sewer. So
Chief sewer, wow.
chief sewer. Well, the only one. This is Rose. She's awesome. We got everything all set up for her.
Awesome.
We have Bruno. Bruno wants up.
Come on up.
Go on up.
Yeah, come sit here.
So the dogs really like Rose.
The dogs are in love with Rose. Rose has also brings along Remy, who has decided to go hide for this, but you know Bruno and his love of the camera. So he's here. Anyway, say hi, Rose.
Hi, I'm Rose.
Yeah.
Yay! What are you guys working on this month? That's what we're here to see. We want to see all the
this is-
sneak peeks
That's
and
why
previews.
that's why I'm standing, because I knew you were doing this to me.
Yeah. Sneak peeks,
Okay.
previews. Show us what you're doing. Is it exciting?
Okay.
Is it fun?
Well, we're doing obviously lots and lots of bags now, so we're going to be able to have a lot more selection now that I actually have help, which is going to be super awesome. I'm going to have more time for reading class. Like that.
Woo! That one we get asked about that one all the time. It's upside down.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
It's upside
Now
down.
it's right side up.
Because she made us move stuff around.
I did.
The next
I
one,
haven't stolen one of these next ones yet. Not yet.
The next one I think you guys are going to like. It's upside down again because I ran out of my other unicorns, but I got these ones.
Woo!
So Lisa's really happy to see that.
Yes.
This one's going to be a big thing, and I'll be able to
And
do
we
that.
have more Stonehenge.
More Stonehenge.
This was really hard
You
to
guys
get
have
right
been-
now. So
you-
the
yeah,
fact that we
this
got
is-
more
I
is
managed
like...
to find some of this. I've got a few now. I think I've got like I don't know how many I've got. I haven't got a lot, but I've got a few now.
Yay!
So
We
people
got
that are
many.
looking for Stonehenge, I can now do a few more Stonehenge bags. I buy the fabric as I find it. These are what's called blenders.
And she got a bunch more colors.
They're not solid colors, but these are great for the inside linings of the double and single pocket bags and the backings of the reading cloths, which is another reason why you haven't seen as many lately, because I waited for this stuff for about 3 months. So I'm caught up on
More
fabric now.
colors. Okay,
Yeah.
so what's Rose helping you with?
Rose is helping me with way too much top stitching right now.
All the things.
All the things.
Remy's helping us with the
Remy's
squeaker.
helping with the squeaky toy.
Yep.
Any other fun fabrics to show off?
I think by the time the video is done,
Those may have already sold out.
You should have, I've got more of the, I do have enough fabric to do some more.
But
I've
dragons,
got
there's blue
dragons
and red dragons. We love those.
So those are going in, and I
So Rose will
think
be helping you make some of those.
every size, and
Bruno was
No,
like,
it's fine.
he's like, I need Rose right now. Oh, you're
Bruno
gonna show the
is-
icky fabric. I'm stepping away.
I'm gonna show the icky fabric. She doesn't like this fabric.
You were already.
It's
in the video,
creepy. Put it away.
Halloween-ish fabrics are gonna start showing up in the shop now that I finally got my supplies, so you'll be seeing some more of that too.
So like punchline is basically now that Peggy has Rose helping, you're gonna have more in the shop. Yay! Less sellouts maybe. Depends on how vicious y'all
Who's a
are.
sellout?
What? Anyways, okay. So it was very nice meeting you, Rose, on camera. Yay! I don't know how to end this, but we'll just say bye. Okay, say
I'm
bye.
gonna say goodbye.
Bye. We are so excited to have Rose on board because that way Peggy has help and can make sure that the stock in the shop stays stocked, the things stay stocked, that there are things there for you guys to choose from. I am so proud of everything Peggy has built with her Etsy shop, and it's just really cool that we're at this phase where she can get some extra help, get a little bit more done, and make more things available to you guys, maybe play with new designs and that kind of thing. The kind of thing that gets neglected when you're just kind of treading water trying to keep things in the shop. So really, really excited about that. Keep an eye out for the shop to continue to grow and expand as Rose comes up to speed, but we're just really thankful to have her. So yeah, very excited about Rose. That was like probably the biggest thing in October, if I'm being entirely honest. The only other thing I can think of memories wise is that I've still been really loving working with meal kits. I've been doing a lot of cooking in October, so I would say if I can think of it, if I have the wherewithal, I'll put a clip of me working with a meal so you can kind of see how they work. But I talked about these like zero waste kits that Fresh Prep has, and not every single meal comes in a zero waste kit, but they're very packaging conscious with their stuff anyways. That's pretty much the most significant memory I can think of that I had to share. I'm sure there's more, but more are wrapped up in my other kind of categories. So I'm going to dive into those now. So let's talk about YouTube-y things. There's a few things I made note of that I really, really wanted to highlight in my monthly show and tells. One of those things is I discovered a new channel called Garden Goddess Tarot. I will link their channel down below. I've just been really, really enjoying their content, and they're newer to TarotTube, and it's just nice when you stumble upon a new channel that just is just nice. It's just fun to hang out at. I also had so much fun this month doing my live readings for my magical unicorns. If you don't know, I have channel membership here, and I am really, really grateful for all of my members, but one of the tiers I have is focused on sort of magic-y and tarot related stuff, and once a month I do readings for members. And October was super fun because I literally just pulled out all of my Halloween-y, October-y, kind of spooky, all of those themed decks, all of them in a big pile, and it was so much fun. And I think I was live for like 3 hours giving readings. I'm still working on my rhythms so that maybe they're not so long, but I had so much fun, and it was kind of like one of my favorite YouTube things of the month, so I had to mention it because it was really great. Also, Peggy, if you have not seen it, Peggy did a pick a card again. We've been really having fun with those. She did a pick a card in October, and all I'll say is this: if you have not seen it yet, you have to watch pile number 1 at the very least, even if you have no interest in pick-a-cards. I probably shouldn't say that, but like, because now I've influenced you if you haven't seen it. But if you haven't seen it, like, you probably aren't into pick-a-cards enough to like want to like just like, you know, rush to watch them or whatever. So maybe I haven't spoiled anything, but just like at a bare minimum, like regardless, if you go and watch it and you pick a pile because you actually want a reading, then like pick the pile first. But then no matter what happens, you have to watch pile number 1 because the ridiculousness that happened, it was so much fun to film. If you guys don't know, Peggy's not a big fan of making videos all by herself, but she really loves doing videos together. We're going to try and work out the sound situation because right now I have a mic system that like the mic's on one person, and then whoever's not mic'd is kind of like sounds like they're further away than they are, which has been an issue in a couple of videos. But anyways, just trust me on this. Go watch the pick a card. It was fantastic. And I would totally be remiss if I did not mention the 3 Fat Readers Halloween special. Did you see that? Did you watch that? If not, go watch that because it was so much fun. So yeah, go check that out. Okay, let's talk body and beauty stuff. I kept it quite curated. You'd be so proud of me. So there's a couple nail polishes I wanted to share. I've probably shared them before. My nail polish collection is not super huge, but the nail polishes I was really enjoying wearing this month were Zoya's Merida. That's this green glittery goodness, which it makes me think of Brave. Merida, obviously, that name. But it's a really pretty green with sparkles in it. And I think it was actually one of you guys that tipped me off about this one. It's called Zoya's Storm. Well, it's Zoya's the brand, and it's called Storm. And it's black with like a glimmer. This is so pretty. I wore this like half the month. This was a great polish. And that's it for nails. I'm trying to give my nails a bit of breather between like polishes because my poor nails get so like hashed and unhappy if I wear nail polish too often. So I try to give them breathers, or at least work with like more nourishing nail polishes in between. But I think it's actually the removal that's the hardest on them. So yeah, anyway. And this is actually kind of a memory, kind of a body beauty thing, but I had a really fun trade with somebody. We ended up trading some tarot for some makeup because mixing two favorite things is always a good thing, right? And one of the things that she sent me, which I have been lusting after for the longest time, and I had so much fun playing with this month, is the Kaleidos eyeshadow palette. It's the Sci-Fi Green palette, and oh my god. These colors, let me just cover the mirror, are everything. They're so, so pretty. There's like this like really gorgeous, like mustardy, like orangey, no, not orangey. It's like a mustardy green. Is that a thing? Can you have a mustardy green? I think you can. And then these like kind of grungy, but still really shiny, bright greens. And then these mattes down here. And this black is so good. I love this palette. So I had a lot of fun. I love green eyeshadow. It's one of my favorites. So, I mean, really, if I were to pick, it'd be like green and purple would be my two favorites for like colors of eyeshadow. But this is like, this is so pretty. And I had a hard time finding this in stock on their website. I kept finding the one that has like greens, like turquoises and like a pop of orange. But this is so cohesive as a color story. I love it so much. So I definitely wore this one in October. And then she'd also sent me this, this is a highlighter that I thought for sure I was never going to be able to wear. But it actually, it's hard to describe. It looks so dark in the pan and it looks so dark when I swatch it. But then when I wore it, it actually blended into my skin. I did kind of blend it over blush. Anyways, I'm babbling. This is a Dior Skin Nude Luminizer Glow Vibes in Coral Vibes. It looks so dark. It looks like a blush, right? I'm going to swatch it because it's so pretty. But that's what it looks like in the pan. I've obviously played with it a lot. But it's like a peachy gold kind of color. Let's see if I can get this camera to, I'm not flipping off, I promise. But like, oh, see, it's like so much less dark than it seems. So scary when I first swatched it. I was like, oh, it's going to be too dark for me. And then I'm going to swatch it some more, like see if I can get a really dark swatch. Because like, I swear, I thought this was not going to work. Yeah, so here's a really dark, like saturated. But do you see how like gold? And normally I don't wear highlighters with this shade. Like normally golden ones can look a little funny on me, but it warmed up my skin and it looked so pretty. It's not what I'm wearing today, but I had a lot of fun with this. I took a picture of the eyeshadow, of the makeup look when I was wearing both of these. And if I can find that, I'll pop that up somewhere on the screen so you can see it because I loved how it turned out. And it was really fun to experiment with things that I maybe wouldn't otherwise experiment with. So that was super fun. That's it for Body and Beauty. Look at me just like cruising on through. Okay, let's talk about TV. So there are only two things of note that I watched in October. The first of these is Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie from the 90s, I think it is, or maybe early 2000s, which I did as part of a larger deck process, which I'll talk about shortly. But in essence, I kind of went down a whole Dracula rabbit hole in October. And one of the parts of that is that I really wanted to watch the movie because I was trying really hard to not read the book because I thought I was going to hate the book. And there's more on that later. But needless to say, I was like, Peggy, will you watch Bram Stoker's Dracula with me? And we watched it and she thought it was kind of terrible. I mean, for the time, it was good. It was just, and it did do a good job, I think, of talking through the story. And now that I know more about the story, I will say it went its own way in some places, but there's a bunch of different adaptations of Dracula. And now I also kind of want to watch, there's a Bram Stoker's Dracula like series on Netflix, I think, or miniseries or something. If you've seen it, let me know if it's good because I kind of want to watch it now because I've gone down a Dracula rabbit hole. But I watched Dracula. I've watched a little bit of RuPaul's Drag Race, but other than that, the only other thing I watched is I finally sat down and watched The Labyrinth. And you guys, I was live, like, messaging Danny and Dustin in our 3 Fat Readers chat the entire time I was watching it. And when I tell you that that was the weirdest, like, 2 hours I think I've ever spent, some of the characters I got kind of attached to, like Ludo is super adorable, and there's this like little dog-like creature that I didn't know he was supposed to be for sure a dog, and then I figured out he was supposed to be a dog, I think, kind of. And like there was and Hoggle grew on me, and some of the characters were really fun, but there was large sections of the movie that were kind of awful, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm probably going to get into so much trouble from all of the like major Labyrinth fans. but I don't think I'll ever watch it again. But there's a lot. It's a lot. I feel like it's one of those movies that, I told Peggy about it afterwards, and she says, there's some movies that, like, if you didn't, like, fall in love with them when they were new, like when you were young, then probably they're going to just look really, really weird now. Because I have a absolute passion for the movie The Last Unicorn and for the book by Peter S. Beagle. And I had Peggy watch that movie with me, and she thought it was the weirdest thing she'd ever seen. So it was terrible. But I love that movie so much. Same thing with, like, The Dark Crystal. I love that movie. But I mean, The Dark Crystal and The Labyrinth were, like, literally from the same kind of era. Like, they weren't that far apart. And there's a cool crossover in The Labyrinth from The Dark Crystal, which was super cool. I did really like that part. But anyways, so it's kind of like that thing. I think if I was to watch The Dark Crystal now, having never seen it when it was, like, when I was young, I'd probably have had the same reaction. But some of my OMG, what am I even looking at moments that I live tweeted Danny and Dustin was just... That was, like, a great memory because it was so much fun. It was like they had seen it over and over again. They're both huge fans of the movie. It's their nostalgia. It's their fandom. So watching me react to it, like, in, like, real time was probably pretty hilarious for them. But, yeah, The Labyrinth. I watched it. I can now be officially off the hook to everybody's like, oh, my God, you haven't seen The Labyrinth. Well, now I've seen it. I'm good now. I can tick off that box, right? I'm off the hook? Okay, good. Good. All right. Let's talk about food. So literally, here's what I wrote down. I wrote Halloween candy because yes, and I wrote down the pork banh mi's that I made from my Fresh Prep box. So one of our meals we got in our Fresh Prep box was our subscription was a pork banh mi. It's like a toasty sandwich with, like, yummy, like, marinated pork, but then it had, like, cilantro and, like, these pickled veggies and, like, oh my God, it was so delicious. It was so delicious. So every time I get an option to get that meal again in the future, I will get it. And, like, it takes a long time before you start seeing repeats because they have so many different recipes. But that one was, like, it was the best one I think we've ever had from them, like, hands down. It was so good. But it's also all the flavors that we tend to really like. So that was really fun. That's what I wrote down for food. We got to talk books. That's really what I'm here for. You guys, I need to talk about books, and I have a ginormous stack of decks to talk about. So I kind of breezed through. Oh, I guess we should talk randoms. Let's talk randoms before I get into books, because otherwise we'll never get to randoms. So I don't have something to show for every single thing here, but the first random I want to talk about is Final Fantasy XIV Online, because that's what I've been doing in October. I love MMOs. Peggy and I have played WoW off and on for years and years. Loved playing that game, but it got very repetitive. It got to a place where we just did it because we knew it, and we would play it because it was fun to play together. But then it was like we got to know the system, so then it became kind of like a comfort zone. But I think it stopped being fun like a long time ago. And so we would, like, subscribe for a little while, we'd play for a little while, then we'd unsubscribe for a while. Then something new would come out and we'd resubscribe and we'd play the new stuff for a little while. And then every time the drop off just happened sooner and sooner and sooner. And it was actually, I'm going to totally blame Peggy's new sewing helper, Rose, because she got us onto Final Fantasy XIV. And if you're an MMO, let me pause for a second while I side rant. If you have played massive multiplayer online role-playing games before, and you found, especially if you're older like me, and you found that the communities that you go into tend to be, like, people tend to be kind of mean, or, like, at least not as nice, you'd probably really like Final Fantasy XIV. At least the server I'm on, everybody's just been so nice. Like, random strangers, I don't know, the vibe is just friendlier and, like, happier and more fun. I don't know how else to say it. So, it's a little bit of work to get to know a new MMO and, like, new character types and stuff, but there's so many things I love about it and that I love even more than I ever loved about WoW. I think I just played WoW because it was the first one that I was introduced to, but Final Fantasy is amazing and I love it so much and I'm having a lot of fun. I'm so excited that we kind of got started on that in October, and I will probably talk about it more, but probably not to any great length because I just love games in general. I have neglected my VR headset a little bit this month because I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy, but I'm going to try to balance it out because I do miss my Beat Saber, and I did get a new music pack for my Beat Saber. It's like Billie Eilish, who I don't actually listen to in real life, but the music pack was fun, and I'll pretty much almost play any new music pack on Beat Saber. If you don't know, that's a VR game where you have, like, lightsabers, and you, like, a virtual reality game, you have lightsabers, and you're, like, swinging them along to music, like slicing notes, kind of like Fruit Ninja, but for music. I don't don't know, is it a bad example or bad way to describe Beat Saber? If somebody wants to better describe Beat Saber down below for anybody who's interested, much appreciated. Okay, so Final Fantasy 14 was a big one. Also, this pen. So I got this talisman pen. This is a fountain pen by a company called Bennu. And this is so pretty. Let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. If it'll stay focused. It is gorgeous. It's got all these like really pretty glittery accents. It's a really wet writer. So I got a medium nib. And it writes really wet. It's basically like a broad, essentially. But it's so pretty. But you know why I bought this? Because this company, first of all, it's pretty. And also these green parts glow in the dark, which is awesome. Not that I use it like in the dark. So it's just kind of a cool piece of trivia more than anything. But here's what's especially cool. Look what comes with these pens. So these are from their talisman line. And they have a dragon's blood one. And they have a foxglove one. And I think they have a special holiday mistletoe or something like that coming out for Christmas time. But this is the one. Like this was the colorway that I was like going gaga over. I kind of want the dragon's blood one too. But we'll see. Because they're not cheap. But one of the things that's so cool about this, these are resin body pens, and they actually do crush up a little bit of the actual thing that it's named after. So in this case, there is actually a little bit of crushed up mandrake right in the resin for this pen, which magically just makes me all gooey inside to think about, because I love that. So I've been enjoying using this for some Book of Shadows work, which is super cool. They even send you this really cool, like almost Book of Shadows style artwork. It's a little bit long, so I've got to see if there's a way I can like cut it so I can put like half of it on one page and half of it on another. But it's got all this information about mandrake, which I thought was really super cool that came with it. And I thought this was going to be my favorite pen from October. But this pen purchase that I'm about to share with you is 1000% Dustin's fault. Like, I bought it. I'm a grown-up. I did order it all by myself. But Dustin told me about it. And if he hadn't told me about it and about the perfect ink to go with it, I would not have gone on a mission to get both. Because he told me about them and I'm like, I don't need those. It's okay. I'm good. I'm good. And then it just kind of sat there in the back of my head going, but Lisa, yes, you do. Yes, you do. So this pen is by Edison. It is an Edison Beaumont unicorn. It's called the unicorn. Hello. Also, as you can tell, I do have a sort of aesthetic when it comes to pens. I do like pinks. I do like blue. Well, I like pinks and teals. Are definitely a thing. So this is the Beaumont. It's like butter. I don't know how else to describe it. This nib writes so well. I did go ahead and get a medium again because, you know. And then Dustin said, and there was an ink, and this ink was out a while ago, and so then I had to go on a mission to find it because it was actually a limited edition ink by Organic Studio. And guess what this ink is called? Oh, I can't really show you. It's a pink ink. I don't know if you can really see it in there. It's pretty. It's pretty. It's called Unicorn Blood. It's called Unicorn Blood. So I have a unicorn pen with unicorn blood ink. And it was Dustin who told me about that. He's like, you could get the unicorn and then you could get the unicorn blood ink and they could live in the same pen. And I was like, no, that's silly. I don't need to do that. How wrong I was. So I got the pen and it's so lovely. And I mean, seriously, I love it. So now I officially have 3 fancy pens. I have my Bennu Talisman Mandrake, my unicorn, and I showed this one in a previous video, but it's right here, so I might as well show it. I had to bend down to get it out of my case, and then I have my abalone, which is my Conklin Endura abalone. So those are my pretty, and they're all kind of, it's funny, they all kind of have this kind of teal kind of theme to them. Teal and pinks and purples, or in this case, I guess teal and blue, but very, very pretty. I'm gonna put them away now. Another random thing I wanted to talk about. Oh my gosh, I'm like buried in stuff here on my table. The reading cloth that I used all month, because this was super fun, was this one. So Peggy made me this, I think last year, and it's got all these cool like bottles on one side, and then on the other side, it's this really cool like kind of Gothic-y floral pattern, but with this almost like grimoire page like words behind it. I love this. So she'd actually made me a couple different sort of Samhain themed or spooky themed cloths. And I think this is the one that I ended up deciding to keep long term. I'm going to be doing a bit of a members only sale thing. I've just got to figure out how to do it for Peggy things that I'm moving on to new homes, because I have a tendency to over collect those too. Who's surprised? Nobody. Anyways, all right. So that is it for randoms. I'm pretty sure I didn't forget everything. Oh, I did. The thing that's hanging behind me. So this also happened in October, and I'm so proud of this. I made this. So this, let's see if I can bring it out without like actually having to like make a big mess. This is a Halloween advent calendar, and it's got all these like little pockets for candy. I had to take the candy out of it so I could show you guys. But look, 31's in the door here. I sewed this. It came in a quilt kit. Really super fun. So I sewed it, and then it's on a dowel. I put it on a big dowel because I thought I was going to maybe put something on the ends. So this actually hangs on the wall. You might have seen it behind in some of our live streams, but I'm really proud of it. And on the back, it has this beautiful scene, which I made. I put the borders on here and quilted it all. Peggy had to hold my hand through the whole thing, of course, but it's got this really beautiful world tree image on it. I think she has more of these fabric pieces. And I don't know if you can tell, but that's like an island with like little unicorns all here. And then there's unicorns down the side in this bit. It's so pretty. So the reason I put this on the back is because obviously we can't use the Halloween advent all year round. So when it's not being a Halloween advent, it can just be a really pretty wall hanging. So that's what I did there. So very proud of that. Is that all my random stuff? Yeah, that's all my random stuff. So now we get to talk about books and decks. All right. Books. So I have a major confession. Actually, you know what? I have to kind of mush my categories together. So I'm just going to talk about 2 books. Then I'm going to talk about the next book, and I'll mix it in with. I have to sort this out in my head. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Let me start somewhere simple. So I did pick up the Llewellyn 2022 Sabbath Almanac because I really enjoy having one of these kicking around. I've only used one once before. I don't always resonate with all of the exercises and things in here, but I do like having sort of a current, in the current calendar year, record of when all the Sabbats are happening, and just something to kind of keep me in touch with the witches year, like the witches wheel of the year, that sort of thing. So I really enjoy this for that. If you don't know, this runs from Samhain 2021 to Mabon 2022. So it runs along the witches year, which is really cool. And then there is a section for every Sabbath beginning with Samhain. And what I decided I would try to do this year, we'll see if I stick with it, was I thought it would be a fun little simple way to mark each Sabbath, to take the time to color in. There's these like intro pages to every Sabbath. So let me show you what one of them look like. So like here's what the Yule intro page looks like. So it's to me that just looked like a coloring page, but I don't often get to really make time for like the kind of coloring I like to do because it can take a while. So I tried to ease up myself on my style of coloring a little bit, kind of chill a little bit, and I did color in Samhain. So that's what I did in Samhain. I just kind of played with the moonlight a little bit, and I had a lot of fun doing that. It was just a nice way to sort of mark that this is the season we're in, and that was really fun. I actually colored this on the 28th, so that was super special. I'm going to do the Yule one next, but I want to sit with the energy of Samhain for a while first, but that was super fun, so I thought I'd share that. I think it goes better in books than in randoms, but it's kind of a bit of both. And then, of course, and I'm kind of telling stuff out of order because it just makes it easier for me, but I did also reread Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book. I love this story so much. This is a middle grade novel, and I read it for the first time last October, and it's now something that I've kind of determined that I want to reread every October because it's so atmospheric. It's an easy read. I think I was able to read this. I was using a Smoke Ash and Embers prototype card for the bookmark. I can actually read this in about a week, so it doesn't take up my entire October of reading, but it's a really beautiful story. I talked about it last October in last October's show and tell, I'm pretty sure, so you can check there for my first impressions. But what I will say is that Neil Gaiman wrote this book because he was inspired by The Jungle Book. So this is about a boy who is raised in a graveyard, and there's a lot more that happens. And The ending is beautiful, and it's just a really great story. And if you like to read middle grade books with your kids, like if you have a kid that you like to read books aloud or whatever, this one has a tinge of scary, like a tinge for that age. I think it could be potentially a little spooky, but the kind of spooky that I feel like is handleable, if that makes any sense. But what's really neat is that each chapter, after you get, maybe it's all the way through, but it certainly feels like each chapter kind of feels like an episode in a TV show, if that makes sense, kind of leading up. So it's kind of like everything goes together, but there's these like little mini stories or mini sagas happening in each chapter. So it makes each chapter feel like when you finish that chapter that you can take a breather and then like pick up the next one and it feels like a little story, but it all goes together. And I hope that makes sense. But I feel like it'd be a really great book to read with a kid, or like, I just feel like that'd be fun. But it's a beautiful, beautiful book. It's so perfect for Halloween or like kind of October read. So I very much recommend it, even if you're an adult, especially if you're an adult. I just think the story is really, really cute and fun and just the right amount of Halloween without like giving me nightmares. You know what I mean? So that was fun. This next bit is kind of a bit of a story. So I'm going to dig out all the things related. I've literally a tower in front of me of stuff. Oh no, the tower's going to fall down. Okay, no, we're good. We're good. All right, I need to get my dog. Just a sec. Come here, Bruno. Bruno has decided he needs to be up here with me. So he's going to be up here with me now. Are you actually going to stand on my table right now? Did you want to come all the way up? Okay, come on up. Come on up. Sit down. Can you sit down? Hey, are you just going to explore now? What's happening? It's okay. You know what's happening? I'll tell you what's happening. People are setting off fireworks because that's a thing that happens around this time of year in Vancouver area for some reason. We do Halloween time frame fireworks. I don't know what that's about, but he doesn't like it. So he's just gonna sit here and be with me. Okay, so let me tell you the story. So I have been looking forward to working with the Vampire Tarot by Robert M. Place all year long. I have just been waiting and waiting and waiting. In fact, I thought this was going to be the only deck I was going to work with in October, because when I knew I was going to be working with this one in October, I also thought I was going to be working with a deck a month, which I shifted out of by the middle of this year. But anyways, I knew that this deck was based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I actually picked up a copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula thinking, okay, I'll read Bram Stoker's Dracula and I'll work with the Vampire Tarot in October. And then I got a little closer to the time to work with the deck, and I'm like, okay. So first I read this book that goes with this deck. And this book, but this is an out of print deck. I apologize. I'm going to show you the cards in a minute, but I want to talk about the whole Dracula thing first. So I read this book, and I had an incredible time reading this book, which shouldn't be a surprise because I love Robert M. Place's writing. So this guidebook is wonderful. If you have always been curious about Robert M. Place's Tarot, Alchemy, Hermeticism, and Neoplatonism in the 21st Century book, I think I got that title right. It's something like that. There's some pieces that I thought were really cool from that particular book that show up in this book, which I thought was really cool. It's almost like this may have been the precursor to that book. I don't know which came first. But this is really cool. And there were some snippets. I actually made notes, which I never do on tarot guidebooks ever. But I made notes because there were some really cool tidbits I was not expecting to stumble into. And I'll find it here in my planner because I actually wrote them in red ink, so I'd be able to find them easily. So here's a few tidbits that I took away from the guidebook for the Vampire Tarot. Bram Stoker was a lifelong friend of Pamela Coleman Smith. I'm sorry, excuse me? What? That was the coolest bit of trivia. I did not expect that. There was also a piece about how Bram Stoker's biographer really feels like he was heavily influenced as far as the tarot, or at least by Pamela Coleman Smith, in some of his things that he worked into the story of Dracula. One of the most notable of those was in the wheel card in tarot, there are T-O-R-A letters that go around in a wheel. And depending on which letter you start with and how you go around the wheel, those letters will spell T-A-R-O-T, so you'll get tarot, or O-R-A-T, I'm probably going to say this wrong. Basically, there's a thing where you get rota, which means wheel in Latin, depending on how you go around the wheel in the letters. Or you can get Ator, which is some kind of reference to Hathor, perhaps. Don't take my word for any of this. And then Torah, which is the Jewish book of law, of course. And tarot, I think, is how that works. So depending on which direction you go and like which letter you start with. So it's kind of a cool, I don't know what that's called. It's some kind of a word puzzle thing. But anyway, interestingly enough, one of the main characters in Bram Stoker's Dracula is Mina, and in the same way, anima is the soul, is a word for the soul. So there's a really cool like tie in there where Mina, or backwards anima, if you keep going in the wheel, right? So interesting little tidbit that I picked up from that. And this was also really interesting. So in page 32, in the last paragraph of Robert M. Place's book, he says she also, so that's Pamela Coleman Smith, illustrated that's Bram Stoker's, his last novel, The Lair of the White Worm, which was written in 1911. So Pamela Coleman Smith actually illustrated one of Bram Stoker's books. Another piece of trivia that I just thought was really cool and just spoke to the tie-in between those two. Super interesting. There was also some notes here I made here about Persephone's story and how it kind of aligns with Bram Stoker's Dracula. And there was just a lot of really cool things. Talks about the legend of the Grail being an influence. And talks about, I loved this. This is something I really loved. So out of Robert M. Place's book, and I think this is probably a Jung quote, but I just liked the way that this was written. I think I said Bram Stoker's book. In Robert M. Place's book, I wrote this down. The shadow, which is a depository in the unconscious for all aspects of the personality that most people consciously disown. I just thought that was a really cool way to express the concept of the shadow. Excuse me, can we settle? Can we lay down? Sheila, Bruno, lay down. Hey, lay down. He's laying on my table in front of me. I just thought that was a really cool way to describe the shadow. And that's a little bit of wisdom that I got out of this book, The Vampire Tarot. So I read this book. This is part of my reading for October, so I have to talk about it. You're just going to steal the show, huh? Can we lay down? Thank you. Good boy. Stay there. So I read this, and then I was like, well, I need to know more about Dracula. Although Robert M. Place does a really good job of synopsisizing. What is that word? Summarizing the story. So if you don't want to read Bram Stoker's Dracula, you still get a synopsis of the story. Did I mention this deck is out of print? I'm really sorry I'm talking about this for so long, but it was a really big part of my October, and I'm excited about it. So anyways, so I read this. I also, thinking that I had started to crack open this book, the original, this isn't the original, this is like a paper mill press version with a little bookmark of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'd cracked open the first few pages and I was like, oh, this reads so old-fashioned and so dry, and I don't want to read it. I just felt resistance, right? So I was like looking up to see, I'm not kidding, if I could get a Cliff's Notes version of Dracula to read. And Cliff's Notes don't seem to exist anymore as far as physical books. You can probably still get some of them. But I did find out by Googling Cliff's Notes Dracula that you can read most Cliff's Notes online. So I read the entire Cliff's Notes synopsis of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I really enjoyed reading about it. I was really kind of enjoying the story. Then I made Peggy watch the movie with me. And then I was like looking at the first few pages of Bram Stoker's Dracula again, this copy right here. And I realized as I was starting to read the first few pages, it suddenly didn't seem dry anymore. And I was suddenly really excited. And I read this entire thing in like maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, if I'm being like conservative in my estimates. And it was so good. I don't know if I would read it again. I was in the zone. I was feeling all the Dracula vibes, but it was really, really good. And all this because I wanted to work with Robert M. Place's Vampire Tarot, which, can we talk for a second about this fabric that Peggy has that literally has a book on it that says Diary of a Vampire, Volume 1 on the front, which is so perfect for this deck. But anyways, so this deck, this is what the backings look like. This deck is really cool. I think if I wasn't so invested, that's Jonathan Harker going in as the Fool, going into Dracula's castle. I think having gotten to know the story, these cards really, really work for me. Bruno is like right up in the camera right now. And I feel like as you get to know the story, this deck just takes on a totally different life of its own. But the court cards kind of go their own way, because in the court cards, you actually get figures from like real life. So let me grab some of those so you can see them. So the Queen of Knives is Ellen Terry. I can't remember who that is. I'd have to refer to the guidebook. But you'll see that the King of Knives is Lord Byron. The Knight of Knives is Samuel Taylor Coleridge. These are all people from real life that were associated with Bram Stoker in some way, or that he associates with him in some way. Bram Stoker himself is the king of garlic flowers, which is the suit that represents the earth or the pentacles. And actually the deck I found to be very, very readable just based on Rider-Waite-Smith meanings if you don't know the story, because while it's a little bit pippish, so for example, here we have the Four of Garlic Flowers, which is the Four of Earth, but we have Dracula there kind of guarding a treasure. So you still have like the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings there. John Polidori is the Knight of Garlic Flowers. Sir Henry Iving, here we go. The Queen of Water, so the Queen of Cups is, the Queen of Holy Water is Pamela Coleman Smith herself. So yeah, it was a really fun deck to work with. I really enjoyed my readings with it. I found the guidebook to be lovely to work with, and mostly I think I just really enjoyed dipping into Dracula and kind of like deep diving into it in a way, because I read the Cliff's Notes, I watched the movie, I read the full novel, I read the synopsis in Robert M. Place's book, and then I read his guidebook. So that was a lot of reading about Dracula in October. That's a thing that happened. All right, let's talk about all the other decks I worked with in October. So there was more than what I have here. Hi, Bruno. I got excited and he stood up. Okay, lay down. Lay down again, please. Lay down. You're okay. Lay down. Thank you. Stay there. Stay. So some of the decks that I had fun playing with in October, I played with my Trionfi della Luna finally. I got this deck some time ago, and I really enjoyed using this when I did my readings for members in October. So as I mentioned, I pulled out all of my like sort of October and kind of spooky decks, and I always like to have some kind of a pip deck with me when I do readings like live on video like that. It just, there's something where I just often feel called to pull some kind of pip style deck or Marseille deck, so I like having one available, and this was the one I had. I really, really, really enjoy this deck. I felt like it gave me some things to work with intuitively, as well as just being a wonderful sort of version of a Marseille deck. I love this Fool with like the flaming face out the butt. I just love that. I don't know why, but I do. And I had some really cool moments reading with this deck. So I had to mention it. It was definitely a really enjoyable deck to work with. If you enjoy Marseille and you enjoy Patrick Valence's artwork, I think you might really enjoy working with that deck. It isn't one that I think I'd reach for a lot, but I'm really glad I have it, and I did enjoy working with it. I also, let's see, through the rest of my personal working decks, I worked with, after working with the Vampire Tarot, which I did work with for like half the month, but I also worked with, for myself, the Bohemian Gothic Tarot by Baba Studios. I said I was going to rehome this deck some time ago, and then I never did. I ended up changing my mind. It's really a beautiful, scenic deck. It still has that gorgeous Gothic, kind of vampire-y, kind of scary, haunted house sort of feel to it. I'm trying to get my fingers away from the titles, but it's hard to hold them and do that. Now, I do know, this is out of print right now, but I do know that Baba Studios is planning a reprint, and they are experimenting with the idea of some cold foil stamping on the next print run of this deck. I don't know if they're ultimately going to decide to do it or not, but I saw some posts on social media about that. But this deck does have a really dark, mysterious kind of feel to it. And I was able to, when I got the deck, the full-size guidebook wasn't available. And then sometime later, there was an opportunity to buy just the full-size guidebook, so I was able to get that. And I'm so glad I did. I think it reads really, really well. And I love that Karen Mahoney in this guidebook does illustrate the kind of traditional or more conventional meanings of each card, and then also the dark or shadowy or more hidden meanings of each card. And that's something that I find that I lean into when I'm working with a deck like this, is the sort of more shadowy meanings, just depending on how the cards come up in a reading. I also, and I worked with that one next to the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. I really enjoyed working with this deck last year, and I was so excited to get back into it this year. I got some really beautiful, meaningful readings. This is what the backings look like. I got some wonderful readings. And throughout October, I was actually working with Lionheart's Instagram challenge called, I think it was actually called Seasons of the Witch. And it had some really great daily draw kind of prompts that all sounded a little bit like spell work. Really, really cool prompt that he did for that challenge. Really, really enjoyed it. And so I enjoyed answering some of the prompts with just Oracle, some with Oracle and Tarot, some with just Tarot. It just depended on the prompt. But I really enjoy this deck, and I will look forward to getting it out every Samhain season, because I just really enjoyed working with it. I also, in my personal practice, This is my favorite. I always save it for last because it's my favorite. I worked with my Zombie Tarot. I love this deck. I love this deck. It's so freaking great. The way that it is a little gory. It's got this kind of 1950s vibe to it. Somebody told me it reminds them of a zombie movie. I can't remember what it was called. It's a very campy, fun kind of zombie movie. It's kind of comedy, and it's like this deck was based on that movie, and that movie is a lot of fun. I can't remember the name of it. If you remember it, drop it in the comments down below. But it's all about like trying to train the zombie to be pets and stuff, which happens in this deck. This is a freaking great deck. It's got so much like humor and it reads so well for me. I love this deck. And if I didn't feel so limited to only working with it in the spookier months, I would probably find that it would be an effective reader anytime. And I feel like if I was ever in a crisis where it felt like the kind of crisis that was affecting my environment, okay, like for example, I have done COVID readings, like ways that COVID is impacting like life with this deck. I think it does really good with that kind of stuff, but I can't imagine another scenario. But yeah, I guess if I was like, I don't know, like I was ever going through something that involved some kind of disaster in my area. I don't know. Does that make any sense? I don't know if it does or not. But here's the really exciting part about working with the Zombie Tarot this year is that this year I finally had a pairing for it. So in previous years, I've just paired it with like a Samhain Oracle or the Halloween Oracle or something like that. But our very own Orshi, she made a deck to go with the Zombie Tarot. She made her very own Oracle deck. You can get it on Make Playing Cards. I'll have a link to it down below. This is what the backings look like. And it is designed to be an Oracle deck based on a zombie apocalypse kind of world. And this deck actually read so well for me all month long. I used it in my live readings and then I also used it beside the Zombie Tarot. So I used it for about a week and a half. And it just worked so well. I got great messages off the cards. I found that all of the themes of each card were applicable to like basic readings. Like they look like they're so specific to like a zombie apocalypse, and they are, but like words like safety, like you've got so much you can build on from that, or fuel, or new beginning. Like there's just really, she did a really great job. Fear. Hello, Bruno. Or overwhelmed. She just did a really great job with these keywords. And this deck worked so beautifully with the Zombie Tarot, which I expected. Can we lay down, please? Hi. Lay down. Hello, lay down. I expected, I have to keep Bruno, just chill. I expected it would work well because, of course, I think that really Orshi wanted the deck to work well with this one. And it does, and it's so brilliant. And because I haven't shown it in a while, can we talk about the perfect Peggy bag? I'm sorry, this fabric was like a find, I think last year or the year before. But it's literally like zombie pinups. That is what I have. These decks just live together in. But literally this Zombie Oracle from Orshi and the Zombie Tarot now live together in a bag. Like they are inseparable. They are now a duo. That is how it's going to work because I love how they worked together. They worked so well. Okay, more deck things because it was a very deckish month, okay? I've had this deck for a while. I don't think I'm ever going to film a walkthrough of it. I mean, I may, but it's special, so I don't know. I still need to get like a special Peggy bag made for it. Bruno, can you not? Hi. Kai, I know you want me to go to bed. Soon, I promise. Lay down. Lay down. Thank you. I picked up Deborah Koff-Chapin's Portals of Presence deck some time ago, like shortly after it launched. As some of you know, Deborah Koff-Chapin's Soul Cards 1 and Soul Cards 2 are decks that I'm incredibly bonded with, that I've been doing a certain kind of work with for like 20 plus years. So when she came out with this deck, I was so excited. But can we talk for a second about how massive it is? This is a tarot deck. This is Portals of Presence. But this deck is so incredible. I almost don't even want to call it a deck because there's these, you can't even really shuffle these. Like I found a way because I'm me, but they're almost like individual art prints. Like this is my face. Like they're literally face sized. Look, they're huge. But all of the images in this deck are faces. There are no meanings, there are no keywords, there are no titles. That's how I've always worked with Deborah Kove-Chapin's work. The soul cards are the same way. But because these are faces, they just talk to me in a different way. It's really, really hard to describe, but I actually did a reading for a friend using this deck for the first time, stretching its legs, and it was exactly what I thought it would be and so much more. So much more. I was so impressed with it. It literally, they feel like portals. I don't know how else to describe it. And I think the idea of this, and I haven't even flipped through or looked at or even cracked open the little booklet that comes with it because there's no meaning to the cards. But I believe the premise is that the eyes are the portal to the soul, right? So the idea of all of these faces basically making eye contact with you as you look at this deck. This is the kind of thing that is an intuitive reading tool because there is nothing to fall back on. There is only your impressions you get from these cards. And I think I used 3. I used 3 in the reading that I did for the friend, and that was a lot. Like, I don't know that I would ever use more than that. 1 probably at a time most of the time. I'm excited to continue playing with it and getting to know it and seeing kind of how I can work it into my practice, but it's really powerful and I'm so glad I have it. I will have a link to it down below. I don't think it's actually mass market. I think it's independent. I don't know. I feel like I had to order it. I might have gotten it from Amazon. I don't think I got it from Amazon. Yeah, and I do think that Deborah's also working on a Soul Cards 3, but I might have made that up in my head. I don't know. But this is really, really cool, and if you are at all touched by this kind of thing, then I would definitely recommend checking it out. And finally, because I could not wrap up October without talking about this delightful little joy that came in. But it's the Mons Tarot Travel Edition. Look how cute it is. So again, where's my example here? Here's the Trionfi della Luna. It's not much smaller than a standard tarot size, right? It's about the same width as a standard tarot deck, maybe just a smidge thinner, and it's shorter. And it's just this fantastic size. It's still in like the magnetic wrap box. Still has the little guidebook, which is a little chunker. It's so cute. But oh my God, I'm so excited. So I now have my travel edition Mons Tarot, 2nd edition. This is the 2nd edition, but it's the travel size. I now have the travel size. I have the 1st edition and I have the 2nd edition. And I'm probably going to trim my 2nd edition so that I have a fully borderless version, as well as this little travel size. I love this. I love this deck so much. And now I can actually use the Mons Tarot for clients more because the cards were so big that it was hard to lay them out for spreads for clients, but this size should be perfect for client readings. So, and I do use my 2nd edition for clients. It's just, I can only do like a few cards at a time. Oh, Bruno's so upset. There's fireworks. I'm sorry, buddy. Are you okay? Are you all right? I know those are big noises. I know. But you know what? They're going to stop soon, okay? Because it's getting late. So I promise it's going to go away soon, okay? You okay? Are you safe? Mommy's got you. You're fine. Yeah, you're okay. You're okay. All right. That wraps up all of the things I was going to show and tell for October, and this little goober needs some cuddles. So we're going to turn this camera off and go snuggle some because he needs it. He's like hearing big noises outside and he does not like it. And I wish I could go outside with a megaphone and scream at whoever is putting off fireworks right now because, yeah. He doesn't like it, and I don't like it when people make my puppy sad. No. He has a harder time with big noises than Shayla does. She's literally beside me napping. She doesn't like it either. She wants to be close to us, but he gets like a little bit like, I have to be really close to you. Like, please hold me and keep me safe. And in case you didn't know, Bruno and Shayla are always, always favorites. This little guy, I am so bonded to him. If you don't know, Bruno is a rat terrier chihuahua mix. And he is a diabetic. Dogs are always type 1 diabetic. That means he takes insulin. So we have to give him insulin injections twice a day. And he's our little miracle puppy because he's now been on insulin for almost 3 years. Is that right? I want to say it was like 20. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But he is doing so good, but we're extra aware of our time with him because you never know with a diabetic doggo, and he's doing really good. He went blind because that happens with diabetic dogs, and then we got him eye surgery and got him new lenses, I guess. I don't know what, yeah, artificial, I guess, new lenses, because we removed his cataracts so he can see again, and he's just our little miracle boy. He's just so good. He's so good. And I think going through all that with him is, I'm very, very bonded. So like I go to bed at night and like Bruno comes to bed with me. And like he's there when I wake up. And like he's just very nearby when I'm home, and I love it so much. And he's a good boy. Shayla's really good too, but she's kind of like a cat dog. She loves to cuddle and stuff, but she always cuddles on her terms, whereas Bruno's like, I can be totally codependent with Bruno and it's totally fine, right, buddy? He's like, yeah, you can love on me anytime you want, Mom. It's fine. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you all so, so much for watching. Please do remember to click the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new here. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you're notified of all my future videos. And as always, remember, if you want even more content from me, and I do make many videos, but if you want even more, then check out channel membership. We call that the Unicorn Fam. And we have sparkly unicorns, we have supportive unicorns, we have magical unicorns, and we have badass unicorns. So different tiers with different perks and different levels of content and all that good stuff. So if you want to learn more about that, click the join button down below and you can find out more about how that works. As always, thank you to all of my channel members and to everybody who puts their eyeballs on this space. It means so, so much. So thank you all very, very much. Have a beautiful rest of your day wherever you might be, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys. Did you say bye, Bruno? Bye. Did you say bye? Are we going to turn this off? Okay, bye.